Hi and welcome to this Microsoft and Veeam capabilities video. In this video we're going to be looking at instant recovery to Azure. My name is Kevin Riding, Senior Business Solutions Architect here at Veeam. Now let's take a look in the lab at what's required before we can perform an instant recovery to Azure. I have two repositories with my backups in. I have a local one that's containing the 3 virtual machines that I have within this demo lab: domain controller, a Linux virtual machine and a Windows virtual machine. But I also have a backup copy job taking those into an Azure Blob repository. Now this is the repository we're going to be using for instant recovery to Azure. You can see here the same 3 virtual machines. If I right click on this particular Linux virtual machine, I'm offered all the different types of recovery that you will be familiar with, but also the new instant recovery to Microsoft Azure. And that's what we're going to go ahead and dive into the wizard of now. So I select the virtual machine. This is where we're going to be querying available locations to recover this particular virtual machine in Azure. This is where I can set my subscription. It's the KRR Azure Comp, and I'm going to select the location as East US. You can see that we're now querying available VM size and storage accounts. We're now offered the opportunity to give a name to the instantly recovered virtual machine. So we could give it an alternate name. We could add a prefix or a suffix. So just to identify the virtual machine, we're going to add a prefix here. We're going to select next. And this is where we're offered the ability to either change the size of the VM, which we're not going to do here, but we're going to select the storage account. And we're going to change from Premium SSD and change that to standard HDD, just for the particular restore we're performing here. And we're going to hit next. So it's going to getting available resource groups. And this is where we can select the appropriate resource group. It would create a new one for us, but we already have some already in play. Select my group, click OK, and click Next. It's going to verify that configuration. It's going to verify the helper appliance. And we're given the opportunity here to make our settings for the virtual network. So I'm going to select my virtual network being my demo VNet, and the subnet I'm going to set to my default 2, and my security group I'm going to set to a pre-configured one here. I'm not going to assign a public IP as this is a demo, but if required for the production type restore, you would be able to select a public IP. I'm going to select next. And this is where I can select the configuration of the helper appliance. So the subnet I'm going to leave as default, and the storage account is going to be one that I already have, which is just here, the Next Gen Eco. Click OK and click Next. Here we're invited to populate something in the log of why we're performing the recovery. And click Next. We're given a summary. We're given the option as well to enable boot verification, which I'm not going to do for this demo. And hit Finish. And this is going to perform the instant recovery to Azure. It's going to go through and show us the log of each step in play. It's going to be starting the helper. It's going to be converting and mounting the disks, going to be creating disks, and it will then allow that to be published. But we'll see that all happen in the log here. Whilst that's happening, we're going to take a look at what's actually happening in the background. So you can see here we have in the same as we have in the lab. We have on the left hand side we have our local VMware environment, and on the right hand side we have our Azure representation. We have a backup of the same local 3 virtual machines in the local repository, and we also have a copy over in the Azure Blob repository. So the first thing we're going to do here is Veeam Backup Replication is going to address those backups in the Azure Blob storage. And it's going to be able to mount those VBKs and of course VIBs as well, and mount them to and make them addressable and mount them to the helper virtual machine, giving that particular virtual machine the ability to transit the IO from the mounted backups, and that will become clear why we're doing that. What we then do is we create and register an Azure virtual machine. And because we have mounted those VBKs and VIBs to the helper appliance here, we can make those drives available to that particular virtual machine that we've created and registered. We can now boot this particular virtual machine, and it's essentially as long as the virtual machine takes to boot is as long as it can, as soon as it is available. So the IO is handled and channeled via the helper back to the repository, and we're caching those changes. Once essentially that virtual machine is stable, we have a number of different things to do. In fact, we have two options really. When we're back in the lab, we'll be unpublishing that state because we're only doing this as a test. But if you've done this in production, what we would actually do is we would write any of the cached change data plus the contents of the data into the virtual disks on the Azure virtual machine, the VHDs, and then we would remove the helper, remove the cache, spin down any of the VBKs that we've mounted, and we would leave the virtual machine running in production. Okay, so let's now go back to the log. And we can see that the restore has now completed. You can see that the KRR Lin01 has been successfully restored. So I'm going to close the wizard now, and you'll see here that we have something that's appeared at the top here. There's an instant recovery in play. So that's the KRR Lin01, and it's in a temporary state. It's mounted in Azure. So I would have two options. In production, I would probably want to migrate that to production. However, for this demo restore, I'm actually going to hit stop publishing in a couple of moments. If I pop across to the Azure portal, I can see I will need to just refresh my list of virtual machines. These are just some machines I have within the portal. And you can see here that my new, so we added a prefix of the word new. So I have my new KRR Lin01 running, and you can see also the helper appliance also running. So successfully performed an instant recovery to Azure. If we were doing this in production, as I mentioned, and migrated that to production, we would finalize that virtual machine and we would remove the helper. But again, in this for this demo, and if you perhaps were wanting to do a test recovery, you would hit stop publishing, which is what I'm going to do now. Hit yes, and it's going to walk us through a log of undoing everything that we've performed already. It's going to unpublish disks, it's going to delete the virtual machine, it's going to spin the helper down and delete that helper, leaving no resources being consumed. So we're unpublishing the backups, and we'll just see as we walk through the progress of the log here. And you can see already that we're deleting the virtual machine. We're deleting the VM disks, and we're also deleting the helper appliance resources as well, so we don't leave any resources being consumed in Azure. And we can see that the helper appliance has now been deleted successfully. And you can see that the restore has been stopped successfully. All the cleanup activity has taken place. And you will see that we don't have the instant recovery at play anymore. And if we pop back into the Azure portal, and you can see the unrefreshed UI, we have that the Linux VM and the helper still running. But if I refresh my portal UI, you will see that the helper and the demo restored instant restored virtual machine is no longer there. Hopefully you've found this useful, and look out for other videos in the series. Thank you.